I'm Councilwoman Jan Perry. I'm the chair of the new chair of the Energy, Technology, and General Services Committee. I think let's have the city clerk and the CLA and everyone up here introduce themselves, although you probably know them.
Maria Espinosa, City Clerk's Office.
Addition with the CO's office.
Mandana Khatib Shahidi with the CLA's office.
And Stephanie, why don't you introduce yourself too?
Stephanie Magdalene Rockwell, Office of Councilwoman Jan Perry.
Okay, great. So I think there has been a request by IT to take their item first. Is that correct? Okay. So let's have a description of that item.
On item 2, a City Administrative Officer has submitted a report. This has to do with the personal services contract between the Information Technology Agency and Gardner Incorporated. This is for the provision of information technology research and advisory subscription services for a term of 1 year and compensation not to exceed $278,280.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Melissa Fleming with the CAO. Why don't I start us off? As stated, the item before you is a request from ITA to execute a 1-year contract with Gardner Incorporated for a total compensation amount of $278,280. Gardner provides ITA and various other city departments, including DWP, the Fire Department, Building and Safety, GSD, and the Bureau of Sanitation, technical guidance through various information technology subscription-based services. The various departments each budget and fund their portions of the contract in accordance with the services that each department utilizes. ITA's portion of the contract is $124,190. The contract will be retroactive to last July 1, 2011, since Gardner has been providing these services since that date. And it's the CEO's recommendation that the committee approve the contract and an associated transfer of funds within ITA's budget to pay for their portion of the contract.
So ITA pays a portion of the $278,000?
That's correct.
And then how is the rest allocated to the various departments?
The various departments each fund their portions of the contract. So as an example, DWP pays about $98,000. The Fire Department has about $12,000. Building and Safety $6,000. GSD $6,000. And Sanitation about $33,000.
And so is it necessary to continue this contract long-term, or is it appropriate to do it on an ongoing basis or on a yearly basis? Or what's the purpose of doing it this way in these smaller increments?
So this particular contract is a 1-year contract for an interim basis, but I'll let the department address the ongoing need for the services.
Randy Levin, General Manager, Chief Technology Officer for the City of Los Angeles. Gardner is a critical service for us. With the ever-changing technology market, we use them as a research and advisory firm, much like, say, the Office of Finance or Controller might use Dun & Bradstreet for looking at the market and understanding what's happening with different companies, different technologies, what's happening in the world of security. We use them almost on a daily basis to find out what's going on in our industry, saving us a lot of time that would take us otherwise to do this research ourselves. And quite frankly, in an environment where we have so less people, it's even more important for us to have this particular service. It's our intent upon renewing this contract for this 1-year period to actually go out for RFP for next year.
Okay. And by going out for RFP for next year, are you looking to see if there's something better out in the market other than Gardner, or what are you looking for?
Well, there are other firms other than Gardner. Quite honestly, we've been very satisfied with the service of Gardner, but City Attorney has advised us that we need to go out for an RFP.
Okay. All right. That's what I was getting at. Okay, great. Any other comments? Okay, great. We do have one speaker card from Bob Irvin. Come on up, Bob.
Good morning. Bob Irvin. I'm the Director of Systems with Bureau of Sanitation. I'm here in support of this contract. As Randy said, this is a valuable resource for the departments. We use this in sanitation on a regular basis to provide advisory services, particularly when we have large computer systems that we're making decisions about. A recent one is our maintenance management system. So these are multi-million-dollar computer systems, and the small amount we pay every year more than pays for itself in the advice we get and the direction, strategic direction that this helps with in the IT arena.
Okay. Thank you. We don't have a quorum, so we'll have to go out of committee as a recommendation.
Communication from the chair.
Yeah, communication from the chair. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you wish to approve it, correct?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. All right. I see, you know what, Madam Clerk, I see that you had some recommendations for consent items. Let's go through those. Starting with item 4, I think. Oh, I'm sorry. They were Stephanie's recommendations. Okay. I'm going to recommend for consent items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. Do you want to read these descriptions into the record so that people will know what I'm recommending for consent? We'll start with 4 and 5.
Item 4 is a general services report. This has to do with the lease with Mr. Stevenson Lim. He's doing business at City Printing at Fig Plaza, and this is located in Los Angeles. Item 5 is a motion relative to the negotiation and execution of a lease for a new Council District 7 constituent services located at 14117 Harvard Street in Sylmar. Item 6 is a Department of General Services report, and it has to do with the new lease agreement for land and improvements to support the operations of Fire Station 80. Item 7 is the Department of General Services report, and it has to do with 2 new leases for land and improvements to support the operations of Fire Stations 51 and 95. Item 8 is the Department of General Services report, and it's regarding a new lease with Angeles Funeral Home, Inc. For the continued use of Suite 100 for field office for Council District 8. Item 9 is a communication from the City Attorney resolution, and it has to do with destroying records for the Department of Transportation. Item 10 is for the same thing, but this is for the Department of Animal Services. And item 11 is destroying records for the Police Department.
All right, great. So that leaves us with item 1.
For item 1, the Department of General Services has submitted a report relative to the status of the Municipal Facility Space Optimization Project.
Good morning, Chuck Rubin, General Services. The Department of General Services has made concerted efforts for many, many years to reduce our leasing costs. When I started with General Services in 1999, leasing account was over $30 million. In fiscal year 08-09, we were down to $17.3 million, and this fiscal year we're down to $14.5 million. We are continuing to make efforts to...
Oh, God. No, that's all right. I'll get it later.
...to reduce our leasing costs, and we have a plan in place that through fiscal year 2016-17, we will reduce another $4.7 million of annual expense to the leasing account, which will bring the leasing account down to under $10 million. We've done a study of the Civic Center area. We find that there are approximately 20% vacancy rate, which is spotty. Some departments are very full and other departments are less full. We have noted that there are 6 tower floors in City Hall that are vacant or will be vacant, and we have a plan for those. Things that we have recently done, we are moving the LAPD Behavioral Sciences Unit from a leased facility into Van Nuys City Hall. We just completed the move of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment into City Hall from leased space. We terminated the bulk of a courthouse lease in Chatsworth, and terminated a lease that ITA was in as they moved back into City Hall East. So we continue the effort. There are a lot of leased spaces that we cannot reduce, such as lobbyist offices, communication sites, fire stations and training facilities. LADOT in the Caltrans building is on a long-term lease. State-owned courthouses, council district field offices, sanitation leases, those kinds of things. So we have projected out through 2023-24, what our lease reductions will be by fiscal year. And we have made recommendations as to what departments and/or groups would move into city-owned space to further reduce the leasing costs as we go forward.
We don't have any cards on this item, do we? No. Hold on just a second. Let's flip back to my notes. Oh, I was interested in something. Why do you feel there's a potential lease cost reduction for our lobbyist offices in Sacramento and DC? Because over the years, we've downsized it so much in both locations. I don't know that we have much left. I don't think we have that much personnel anymore, do we?
I'm not really familiar with it. That staffing is through the mayor's office.
So let's. I would like to ask you to find that out. Just
Sure.
let me know by the time this goes to council, how much personnel do we have left in Sacramento, and how much personnel do we have left in the Washington, D.C. office? Because I don't think we have much left, and the reason I'm asking is because I'm not sure how much more we can downsize. There's hardly anybody there.
Right.
Yeah.
Be glad to get that
And I
for
could
you.
be wrong. There may be a lot of people there, and I don't realize it.
I don't think they're big offices to begin with.
Well, they used
But-
to be a lot bigger, but I mean, the personnel may be buried in other people's budgets.
We'll find out
Yeah,
the
please
details
find that
for you.
out for me. And that's something that I'm interested in taking a closer look at. And then also, DOT is in our Caltrans building, so what are you thinking about in terms of consolidating or reducing? Are you thinking of putting people in a smaller space over there, or what?
We're in a 25-year lease with Caltrans, and
There's nowhere to go.
there is nowhere to go, and we don't believe the state would be amenable to reducing its costs because it built that building with 2 additional floors just for us.
Yeah, we have that synergy for
Right.
a long time.
Now, we are looking at down the road if a new civic center building is built at some point.
Unless you know something I don't. I don't
Well,
think that's on the plan.
this is not anytime soon.
Nope, not in our life.
But in the back of our minds, always,
You always dream.
um,
Yes.
we can dream, and if anything like that happened, we would try to include DOT in those plans.
All right, I am going to recommend or communicate that I agree with the recommendations of the February 8 GSD report, with the understanding that you're going to give me some additional information on the city lobbyist offices in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. And we will communicate that I believe we should receive and file the January 26 report, and communicate, I guess, the recommendation to adopt the Zine-Koretz motion that asks GSD to report with a list of lease agreements where the city is a lessee or houses city personnel.
Okay, and for the record, the information that you're requesting from GSD can be informally submitted to your office, correct?
Yeah, that's fine. I just want it before it goes to council. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That would be item number 1. Thanks. There's no cards on that. No cards. We're going to go on to item number
12?
12, or, yes.
12, 3 might have to go to closed session, so it's
All right,
probably best
okay.
to save it at the end.
All right, great. Yeah, let's go to 12.
For item 12, what you have before you is a motion by Council Members Rosendo and Zine. This has to do with a proposed direct sale of city-owned property located at 8131 Delhani Avenue in Playa del Rey to Jay Sidrich and Laura Frank Sidrich. They're the tenants that occupy the premises right now.
Okay. Okay, so what do you want to do?
Morning, council member. Good to see everybody. A lot of people don't know, but the city owns several hundreds, maybe even thousands of residential properties throughout the city of Los Angeles.
I'm sorry, can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Oh, sorry. My name is Nate Kaplan. I'm Councilman Rosendal's field deputy for Westchester, Playa del Rey, and Playa Vista area. One of those locations is at 8131 Delgany Avenue in Playa del Rey. I've had a pleasure to meet the current residents there. Jay Sedrich is one of them, and his wife and his 2 kids went to their home. They've been living there for over 11 years, and they're interested in purchasing the house. And the councilman would like to support this effort. He submitted the motion in front of you, and we would like to amend the motion today. And I am more than happy to read the amendment. I therefore move that the City Council take the following actions. 1, declare the property located at 8131 Delgany Avenue, Playa del Rey, 90293 as surplus. 2, direct the Department of General Services Real Estate Division to conduct a Class A appraisal of the real property located at 8131 Delgany Avenue, Playa del Rey, 90293, to determine the fair market value. 3, direct GSD to initiate the surplus property process, negotiate the terms and conditions of the sale, and prepare and present any necessary documents, including but not limited to the following: notices, purchases, and sale agreement, and draft ordinance. 4, direct the City Administrative Officer, CAO, to review the proposed direct sale of the property located at 8131 Delgany Avenue, Playa del Rey, to the current tenants, and report to the council with its findings and recommendations. Last but not least, 5, requests the city attorney and the assistance of GSD to prepare and present the necessary ordinances to effectuate the direct sale of the property located at 8131 Delgany Avenue, Playa del Rey, California, 90293. And I just want to make a note for the record that we truly want the sale, the direct sale, to the current homeowners, and obviously they have to pay fair market value. And if it's out of their, if it's more expensive than they can afford, we still want them to be able to live and rent there. And so I expect we'll find that out, the current market value, before it gets to council, before the city council has an opportunity to vote on it.
Are you Mr. Sedrich?
I am.
All right. And Nate, obviously Nate, so, all right. Mr. Sedrich, why don't you say a few words?
Sure. Thanks for listening to me, Councilmember Perry. My wife and I moved into the house in 2000. We had just gotten married. They told us, the city, the agent who rented it to us, I think it was General Services, Asset Management, I think it was, said that it would we shouldn't plan on living there too long because it was going to be an auction in a year. So we thought, well, we'll move in and we'll get a chance to bid on it. And then it took a little longer. In 2001, 9/11 happened. My wife and I said, well, if we're going to raise a family, we can't wait now. We can't wait to see if we own the house. We have to start now. So we started. And now we have 2 little kids, and they go to local area schools, public schools, and we pay local taxes. Yes, we pay property taxes on the house, and we've lived there, and we've maintained it, and even fixed it up a little. All this with the knowledge that we might at some point have to move out. But now we have to make some serious decisions about the future of our kids' school lives. And we'd like to know that we can stay in the house, that we can buy the house, assuming we can afford it, and make some improvements to it to allow for 2 soon-to-be teenage daughters. They're 9 and 5 now, so probably in a year they'll be teenagers. We have pursued this slowly. There was an underlying land issue that seems to have been resolved, and so now we're trying to see if we can finally purchase the house.
All right. This is going to be appraised, and so obviously, you acquire property fair market value. So I would like to communicate a recommendation to approve this item.
You're approving the recommendations read into the record, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Great, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Council Member.
Thank you. What's our next item?
The last item on the agenda is item number 3. And I believe the city attorney might be here because it might, part of it might have to go in closed session.
Okay,
And it has to do with a 10-year lease amendment with Lewis, Brisbois, Biscard, and Smith for continued tenancy and expansion at Figueroa Plaza.
who's the city attorney here? Is there a city attorney here? Do you expect somebody? No, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. There's too much noise.
Andy Noga, it's up to Andy Noga from the city attorney's office.
To decide whether we go into closed session?
No. If the chair wanted to go into closed session to discuss the terms of the deal, then.
No, I mean, I don't feel any.
I don't.
I mean, if there's, unless there's some lawyer here to tell me that I
No.
need to. No, it's fine. Let's proceed.
Did you need?
You can go ahead.
Okay.
Chuck Rubin, Department of General Services. This is a request to authorize and negotiate and execute a lease renewal for Lewis, Brisbois, Bisgard, and Smith Law Firm. They are a large private tenant at Fig Plaza. They have almost half of the 221 tower, and they've been a tenant since 1988, well before the city purchased the complex. We have spent considerable time, probably 15 to 17 months, on negotiating a lease renewal. The law firm had in its current lease an option to renew for a 5-year period, and then a further right to renew again in another 5 years. The city pursued a 10-year lease instead, which provides more certainty for the city as well as for the law firm, so that we can make appropriate plans for backfilling space and for keeping other leased spaces in place until such time as this lease might terminate. The 10-year lease provides for the law firm to expand by 20,000 additional feet, which is another floor, and it further gives them an option in the middle of this lease to exercise its ability to take yet a second floor. Looking at, we did extensive analysis with the expertise of our outside real estate advisor, CBRE, and we crunched a lot of numbers. We look at total net cash flow to the city, and there is a large swing if we did not do the 10-year deal and the law firm took the 5 years that they're committed to.
A swing that's unfavorable to us?
Well, if they only stayed 5 years and then decided not to renew, it would be quite unfavorable to us, 14 million to the negative, where if they take a second 5-year term, then it swings to the positive, 20 million. If they do the 10-year deal, if we complete that, then the cash flow is positive whether they take the second floor or not, and the range is from 20.1 million to 22.9 million, but both positive. So it gives us a lot more certainty in what the cash flow to the city would be under the 10-year deal. Further, the budget impact over this analysis period, and we used a 12-year period because the 10-year lease overlaps 2 additional fiscal years, so we analyzed all 12 years. Again, the current 5-year plus an ability for another 5-year is a big swing from almost 5 million negative to 3 million positive, where the 10-year deal from a budget impact standard is relatively calm at 1.6 million negative to 1.2 million positive. So we feel that this would be a beneficial deal for both the city and the law firm.
Good, and a long-term deal is clearly better, not only for us, but to have a tenant in there who's already been there and one
Right.
we know we can count on. I think we should encourage that. So, let's see, I don't have any cards on this item. So, I don't see that we need to go into closed session on anything. So I am going to communicate my recommendation that we approve this item as set forth by GSD. And I would also ask, as now, I got to tell you, I've been working on this for a long time. I think we need to do this forthwith.
Yes,
so that
please.
We can move this, because it's been going on for what, 2 years?
Pretty close.
Long enough. Okay.
And
Yeah, long enough.
I'd like to offer 2 technical corrections to the report. The first is on the cover sheet. It says approved on 1/19/26, should be 1/19/12/2012. And the second is in recommendation number 2, authorize the city administrative
Do you
officer,
want to give me the page number?
5,
Page 5.
at the bottom of the page, recommendation 2, to defease 6.4 million in MICLA tax exempt debt.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. And your first correction, yeah, you're right, I see that's consistent with the terms of the lease amendment, particular item 5 on page 4. Give me your first correction again. On what was the page number on that?
On the cover, on page 1, there's a stamp on the top right that says approved on
Yeah.
1/19/26, should say 1/19/12.
That's an important typographical error that needs
Yes.
to be corrected.
Thank you.
That would have been that really would have been pending for a long time. Since 1926.
1926.
It was before Sheldon Sloan was born. All right, great. Thank you for those corrections.
Thank you.
All right,
And
so we'll do
the item will be scheduled for Wednesday,
great, and then
Wednesday next week in council.
remind me to move it forthwith when we get downstairs to council.
Great, thank
So
you.
we can get this over with, because, we all talk about being business friendly. And this has been a long, long, long road. They're finally there. They've come home. Thank you. All right.
There are no public comments.
No more? No public comments? All right, well, this is the portion of the meeting that if you wish to come forward and make a public comment, this would be the time to do so. Going once, going twice. Nobody's coming forward. Thank you very much. Okay.